Hi everyone, I'm Vixey and welcome back to my art channel. As usual, if you would like anything added to our welcome board, please put that in the comments below. And today we are going to continue with the abstract symbolism, yes, which might be very much like Salvador Dali's style. We'll see how we go. So I have actually washed my brushes out, but I've left the palette still there because we're still going to be using most of these colors, and I have fresh water though, and we are going to continue. We're going to continue here with the grass that I was working on previously, which I'll get one of these and just start putting down a bit more of this. I'm going to actually bring it all the way up to my guideline here. And I'm not being too fussy about double dipping into these paint pots, but like, I mean, that's why you have the mixing palette, so you don't like contaminate the colors too much. So ideally you take out like how much paint you want into your paint palette, and then that way you use like a different brush for each color. But like if I'm getting a little bit of that color in these paint pots, because I'm going green with green, I'm just not being too fussed about it. I am gonna like just wipe it off into one of these little pots right there, and in we go again. Just getting those lovely little sprites happening. Again, I feel quite happy about how this is actually coming up looking quite a lot grass-like, which is nice. And it seems to be drying like pretty close to the color that it goes on as, which again is something that acrylics do. As I mentioned earlier, oils the color just tends to not come up as vibrant once it's dry. But oils come up glossier, so there is that, because obviously oil is somewhat more shiny and glossy than water is. Get a bit darker down in this corner here. I hope you are all having a good day today. We're getting close to this line here, this guideline. Might actually get some broader brushes in here right on the bottom with these colors, and then we'll put in the sprites with the smaller brush over the top once it's dried a little bit, so we get a little more texture happening again, because I think texture makes it look interesting, you know? Scrubbing a bit harder there. Kind of blends it out. Okay, I'm actually quite happy with that. Now, this bottom corner over here, I'm going to kind of mirror this yellow over there. Actually, I'm gonna go with a dark yellow in there. I'm gonna go with this, it's kind of a rounded flat brush right here. So this isn't like gonna be a realistic landscape in any way. This is a bit of a fantasy landscape. Suddenly there's just gonna be like this yellow chunked right in the bottom here. However, it's kind of like, you know, sand on the beach, I guess. But I'm being very, like, whimsical about it, like, because the intention of this is not to make it a realistic painting. That's for the cat painting that I'm going to do with my cat. Memorial painting. Which, for that one, I guess I kind of have to work up to that one a little bit, because there is going to be quite a few new techniques in that I haven't done before. Or else, this sort of fairly loose, abstract kind of style is something that I've been working on for many, many years, and so this definitely comes a lot more naturally to me. I mean, yeah, after you've done something like many, many times, you start getting a bit more confident and a bit better at it in general, is how things usually go. So, like I said in one of my earlier episodes, like, it's okay to suck at things when you're starting out, and then you'll get better at it, and you'll learn as you go, and then things will get better and better and better. Now, again, I'm just going to go in and do some of this circular action. I go in with a very, very slightly lighter yellow, and I'm just going to actually be like blotchy with it. Because I want this blended in. We're going to go even lighter. And I'm just really going to slap big amounts of that on. I really want to cover up this like green drip that's come down here. So I'm going to put on a much thicker coat here, and I am going to put a few layers down of this yellow. And this yellow is also going to be a base for some of the gold. So, but we don't want any of this green that's gone a little bit wild to show through, so we're just gonna Go right in there. And I mean, they call this kind of like percussive hitting brushstroke stippling is the word they tend to use for it. So I'm just gonna do some stippling. To really cover up that green. We are going to put some of this heavier yellow over the top of that in this corner here. And again, this is like just building in a different kind of texture into it. I'm going to go even lighter still. Now, as I had previously mentioned, you can always do this with the most basic colors. So I have yellow here and I have white, and how I used to do this is I used to actually start with the big glob of yellow in one corner and a glob of white in the other, and just sort of drag a little bit of the white into the yellow, mix it, use that, and then drag a little more white into the yellow so that it would slowly get lighter and lighter. It is a little bit more convenient having the pre-mixed different pots of color, that does. And make sure to snap them closed as you go as well, otherwise they will dry out. So again, this is very handy having these little individual pots of color, because you can, and when you go back and you go, oh wait, I missed the spot, right? And you can go, oh, I can match the exact color that I was using before. Whereas previously, if it's like, oh, I kind of mix them, you have to just kind of just keep mixing it to like match it, and that takes a little bit more finicky time. But you know, it can be done. What I'm saying is you can just sort of get by on the minimal stuff if you are just starting out and you just want to try it out for a bit. You don't have to get a lot of new materials and things to start getting into it, but certainly like if, like I mentioned before, I've been doing it for a few years and it's become quite a serious kind of activity for me, whether you want to call it a hobby or I suppose I'm kind of trying to do it professionally now. But yes, when you do get more into it, of course, you can start splurging on some of the more little bits of convenience and fun new tools to play with. And that can often be like an incentive and motivation to engage more in your hobby as well. Like that, ooh, if I, do this and this, then I can get this new equipment for myself, and that'll make it more exciting for me to like do more of it. So yeah. Today's topic is going to be on imagination. One of my dad's favorite Beatles songs is Imagine. Imagine all the people. And I mean, I don't want to make this channel too political, like, but a lot of people aren't aware of like the political background of that song. And I won't go too much into it. I'll just say that when they do find out about like what it really means and what it was about, people are often very surprised about it. And it just kind of goes to show that it's not so much about the political structure itself, but how it's implemented by the officials and how it's received by the public. Because the real issues with most political systems is not actually the system itself. It's more the fact that people misuse the system, and thus it's more about the corruption than whether or not that system is the right way of governing things. I mean, everything has its ups and downs, I guess. Like, it has its pros and cons, and what it all comes down to is what most political systems rely heavily on is that people will abide by the rules. And sadly, that's not often the case. Now, I'm not going to take this all the way across there, because what I'm going to do is incorporate one of the more major clues, actually. It's going to be like quite a big clue. So after not really much of clues, although, I mean, this is a small clue, but after not much of clues, I'm suddenly going to drop a fairly large clue, so stay tuned. Definitely going to keep building up this yellow. I really want like a nice thick yellow, and I can still see a little bit of the green drips coming through, and some of the green texture through here is not quite blended out the way I like it just yet. But we are going to move on a little bit for the time being and get right into that first clue here. Now, this first clue here, right from the tube, I'm actually going to put in a fairly thick amount of white, because I want this to be like intensely white here. And again, I'm not trying to get this to be realistic. I want this to be very, very, like, I'm trying to capture more of the feeling in this particular part here, on this particular painting. But I want it to be fairly clear. I want people to actually feel how, like, white and fluffy this corner is. Like, I want it to actually feel white and fluffy. Like, you want to pat it. And I'm going to do a bunch of strokes that are just kind of a little bit haphazard, because the effect that I'm trying to get is fluffy. And I'm going to leave a little bit of that gold showing through there, I think, because I kind of like that, actually. And I'm just going to cover over some parts here where there's been some drippage from some of the other colors. And again, just over the corners, over the edges, because I really do like that kind of coverage. Okay. I'm really happy with that as a base coat. Okay, that's gonna be the base, and then we're gonna go over that a few times to really build up that texture, that depth, especially since it's basically gonna be white on white on white. I'm gonna put some iridescent and some, did I actually put any metallics on there? No, I'll just go in with some iridescent as well. So I'm gonna try to build up like, this is sort of like a cream as well, so I'm probably gonna use a little bit of that, some cream, some iridescent, and some white. I'm basically going to try to get some depth in there, but it's gonna be a mostly kind of white fluffy thing in the corner over there, and that's a clue. Just trying to put this brush here. Actually, what am I gonna do with that? Because I got a fair bit of white paint on my brush here, I'm kind of wanting to use that up. I don't like to waste paint. I mean, that's kind of another reason why I like to work on more than one canvas, because, if I do end up with like, oh, I'm done with the paint on this and I still have paint on this brush, I like to just go in on another canvas and go, okay, well, I could use up the rest of this on this canvas, which I might do right now actually. So I'm just going to bust out another piece of canvas, which I've been getting them from the $2 stores, like, just, and I'll use this smaller one because I do have another larger piece over there, but this one is going to be my, I guess, kind of cutting room floor scrap piece kind of painting, which, I mean, some of my cutting room floor scrap piece painting have turned out to be like have turned out to be amazing. Like, I'm really happy with them, because, like, they have the extra freedom of really experimenting. So if I go, I don't even know whether it will work kind of thing, I test it out on my scrappy piece of canvas. This one seems a little bit bashed in a little bit. And yeah, so extra piece of canvas that we can just sort of put down other colors. And again, like, especially with abstract, it's a lot about feeling, you know? It's about just your gut instincts. So if I just feel like going, then that's what I do, you know? I really like that about abstract, is that freedom that that you can just sort of release all the feelings. I guess, I know it's kind of funny because, of course, you're seeing me actually talking and being chatty and things like that, but the majority of time I'm very introverted and quiet, and I'm that person that they're always like, it's the quiet ones you gotta beware of. Because I'll be like sitting in the corner just listening at the parties or whatever, and everyone else will be talking and stuff, and I'll just sit there quietly nodding, going, yes, yes, I understand. Because I'm an INFJ, so very introverted. So usually, yeah, I'm the quiet one, and I'm usually just keeping my thoughts to myself, and so I guess I bottle up a lot of my thoughts and feelings and things like that, and then I do something like this, and it just sort of comes out. Like, thoughts and feelings just sort of, and I particularly like painting because the thoughts and feelings, they like they are easy. I find it a lot easier to express them in colors and shapes and visually. I do kind of also like music as well because of that. That it just sort of like comes out in a way that to me is more easily expressed than verbally. But the thing about painting, you kind of have, it's kind of a bit more like static in the fact that you actually have the finished product that you can look back on again and again, like maybe even years later. Like my first original piece. And in this, like, you know, I was able to tell you a backstory and everything. There's like a lot of, I guess, there's a lot of meaning that kind of gets captured in like a snapshot of time that happens when you paint. Whereas I guess with music it's a little more fluid and dynamic because a lot of it gets almost retranslated every time you play it, that the sound in the song, like, it could mean something so different if you sing it in a different way. Like, if you're in a really sad mood and you're singing a song, it will sound and have a different feel to like if you're really happy that day. In fact, one of my favorite songs is it's called Love Song by Emil. And if you listen to the lyrics and stuff, it's kind of sad and kind of jaded, and I later found out that it was like her venting about the fact that her record company was screwing her over and basically breaking up with her. So in a lot of ways it's a sad song, but like for some reason it always made me feel happy. Because I don't know, there was, I guess, a bit of a satisfaction in like you're telling them, like, kind of going like suck it to them to the record company, and the kind of attitude she had to him, and it just, I guess it was sort of ironic to me in a way, and I think the song poses some really like interesting questions, like why do we feel like we need to fall in love and stuff. And I mean, I guess I kind of reflected on that idea a bit more when I discovered I was ace and started hanging out in the ace communities where there are also people who are aromantic. I mean, I've discovered I'm not aromantic. I'm, in fact, probably more romantic than is healthy or good for me. But I started to sort of just see that perspective of like people questioning that whole, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we get in these like romantic dramatic situations when like they don't always, I mean, of course there's plenty of times that it ends up in it doesn't. There definitely is plenty of times where it does end up happily ever after. So I understand that a lot of people, especially if it's just after a breakup, they'll feel very jaded and be like, oh, there's like no such thing as true love and all that sort of thing. But I promise there is, and I have been a wedding DJ for like 5 years. I have definitely seen a lot of very happy couples get married. And although marriage is not like the be it and end all, of course, after the marriage, like after the wedding, well, after marriage too, even people that get divorced, like they can still either find each other again or even find new partners. But the whole thing is like, after getting the wedding and everything, and there's life after that, and my parents, for one, they're still together, 50 years together. Good on them, that's definitely an achievement, being able to put up with somebody else for that long. It's amazing. So yeah, I want to, what do I want to do? I want to get a bit more blue in here, I think. Yeah. With this base yellow, I actually like that. And I am going to start getting into the metallics and the iridescence. Let's have some fun with that. So I'm going to really get some water in there, because I don't want it to go on too thick, because I do actually want a little bit of that yellow to shine through. Because, like, when you look at a sunny sky, I know it's like, it's blue, and again, that's why I think that's like many people's favorite color. But there's a little bit of sunlight that shows through, And yeah, I kind of want to go. Let's go streaky. Let's go streaky, but wavy streaky. Yes. And I just want this entire corner here. And I think what I might do is I'll let this part dry, and then I'll go in with the matte blue, and then another layer of this metallic, so we get some texture and layers in here. Because what I want to do is I want to put in another symbol, which is going to be a star sign, and again, that's going to be a huge clue for anyone out there who is trying to do the guess, who is actually playing the guessing game. And of course, I mean, star signs are going to be a fairly large clue if you happen to know their star sign. Actually, that's coming in nicely. I like that color. That is really nice, that color. Definitely more of that. Definitely more of that. Oh yes, look how lovely that color is. That's a nice blue purple right there. I actually wanted more blue, so I'm going to mix some of this kind of sky blue, because that's what I want. I want some sky blue, but I'm going to scoop a fairly generous amount of that sky blue into my palette. But I really do want a lot of this metallic. This is a very nice metallic blue. And overall, let's see how that's going. I think I want a little more white in that. Like, I just want it slightly lighter. Let's go right there. But let's see how that comes up. I'm really loading up the brush and mixing this, and really filling out that palette. But I think let's deepen that a little bit. So just a little dab of that dark blue in there. And I'm not going to mix it up too much because a little bit of the streakiness again adds a little bit of the texture. But we are mixing that in. And we're going to slap that right on. And yes, actually I quite like that. And I'm even happy with going quite thickly over the yellow. Well, actually kind of happy with that, just blocking out the yellow right there. Yes. I know before I said I wanted some of the yellow show through, now I'm like, no. And that's the whole thing. Like, if you change, like, it's okay to be completely whimsical when you're, especially if, like, you're not doing something that's particularly realistic. Which I'm not. I'm making something that is quite abstract. And this is my aesthetic and style, is to be quite abstract, and really like to get that over the edges right there, really get in there. It's not as much of an issue to me once there's like already color, because if a little bit of the yellow shows through on the edge, that's not going to be immediately visible when people look at it from the front. But I like to really fill in the edges. Now, this will need to dry. I will still go in with a couple more layers, definitely. I am wondering if I want to leave it kind of with this jagged edge here, or whether I want to put a nice clean gold ring on it. And if we were live, I could totally put in a poll or something, and people could vote and have some say in that. But I'm just gonna have to not do that. So, oh, again, like, please like, share, subscribe. If I get enough subscribers, I will be able to use those tools and involve everybody in the process a bit more. That needs more drying, and then I can put more layers on that. I'd like to... Yeah, let's get really stuck into these metallics and iridescents. We're going to put a little bit of this lovely gold in here. I'm actually going to mix the different types of gold. Let's mix the different types of gold with a little bit of this white and yellow. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. That's creating a weird kind of brown color. That's not really what I anticipated wanting. I'm gonna definitely put in a lot more yellow, I think. Let's go with the really light yellow. Yes, that's more like what I wanted. Much more like what I wanted. And I want to make this really quite watery. Did I manage to... Yeah, I've managed to get a little bit of paint in my hair. I got a little bit of pink in my fringe before. So as I mentioned previously, make sure you cover up anything you don't want paint on. Make sure you're wearing clothes that you don't mind getting paint on, and make sure you tie your hair out of your face and your paints. Although you probably will still end up getting some on yourself, you can always have a shower afterwards. That's highly recommended. Yeah, so I want to make this really super watery. So I'm gonna almost fill up on these wells with water just. So what I'm doing is I'm picking the water up on the brush and then dragging it across the edge so that the water kind of gets wiped into the little well. And then give it a good stir and keep doing that until it's the runniness that you want. Now, if it is way too runny, it's gonna just make these massive drips, and I don't want those massive drips. So I also, again, we're gonna work with gravity. I mentioned in a previous episode, letter G. That'd be episode 7 already? Wow. We're doing well. We're doing well if we're still around after 7 episodes. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to work with gravity here. So I'm turning it on its side, and I'm just going to gently brush this here. To create these kind of white streaks, almost like clouds. Okay, going on it seems a little light, so I might have gone a little bit too much white here, which is okay. We're just going to wipe that off. This is, of course, just one more of the many, many layers that we're going to build into this. Because if you look at a sunset and the colors all separating out, like, there's a lot of different colors, you know? There's not just, like, one. Now, I think this brush, I'm using kind of the wrong shape for what I want here. I think I want something, I definitely want smaller because I want to have like smaller streaks. And while I've got this on this angle here, I'm just gonna brush along here with some of the blue. That I previously had a blue brush. And we're starting to get some drips, and I'm kind of quite liking the drips, so. Let's totally get right in there with those and blend this out. Blend, blend, blend. Like, you know, when you're doing your makeup, you blend, blend, blend. And that's what makes it look nicer. And I just want to, from this side, give it some of this lovely streaky texture. I'm still seeing a few spots where the whiteness of the canvas is still showing through. So yeah, this is basically the first layer, and I think it sort of gives us a really good idea of like where each section is placed. But I'm not liking what a clean separation there is between the colors right here. Like, it's still very defined. I really want to blend that out. So with the next few layers, that's what's going to happen. We're just going to keep kind of blending that out. keep blending that out. But this is a good foundation so far. I'm pretty happy with how it is as a foundation. We're definitely going to build up those layers though. And particularly these metallics and iridescents, they tend to change a little bit in color as they dry. So basically I'm going to let it dry and then I'm going to reassess what I want to do with that. But I think you can already see though that that is far more blended in than this area here. And I noticed I missed a spot over here. So, I mean, it is like on the side of the canvas, but it bothers me because I am a little bit obsessive. But there we go. Actually, I'm gonna do this kind of sweepy brush action here. Again, to build in some texture. I'm just gonna build in some shapes and some texture because I don't want it to look like I basically went with like just one straight broad brush and went so yeah. Okay, definitely here. So this sort of orange pinkish area, I want to do something with that. I actually want to make this lighter. Oh dear. This episode has gone on twice as long as it should have. I might have to break it up into 2 episodes. Or just make it a bonus episode that is super long. So yeah. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Love you, bye!